is what I'm doing today, is it motivation, is it meditation, is it inspiration? Because if it's not one of the three, I don't want it, you know. When you're going to a position, and I mean when you're going to a place where you're going and you might not be getting the best, pay, you might not be getting the best, position possible. How do you use the position that you have? How do you use the mentality that you have inside of yourself to continue to grind, What about like those people that spend many years, working on a project, with a hopes of it is succeeding, with a hopes of it moving to somewhere where it starts to be utilized, and then I remember us looking back at those people, like how did they do that? How did they get there? It was interesting. I was online, and there was a person, they were doing this car thing. They had a whole bunch of people with $100,000 plus cars on, and I look at this thing, and I'm sitting here, and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, and I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to sit down on a daily basis and talk into a camera. I know how hard it is to talk to a crowd, and I know how hard it is to work with people, and to put yourself in a place where you start to believe in you, and if you're going through that, this message, it might just be for you. It might be, this day you hear this message, and it touches you in such a way, and it's when we're sitting down with that kind of level, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching this thing, and and they got the $100,000 car, the 200, the 400,000, but you know what the $2.2 million car was? It was a YouTuber. Okay, you hearing what I'm saying? It was a person who for a long time made the least amount, and that's what happens if you really get on that track, if you get on that page, if you sit down inside of yourself and decide what you truly want, if you sit down and you start to grind, if you start to get down to that level where you're utilizing your gifts and your talents, then of course you're going to get paid for them. Of course, one day, it might not be 1 year, it might not be 2 years, it might not be 3 years, but if you continue to put yourself on that kind of a journey, if you put yourself on that kind of a path, if you start focusing to that level, if it might be the day that you start that, it might be today that you start to believe in yourself and you start to believe in your gifts. It might be today that gives you that ability to, put yourself into that kind of mentality. It might be in that kind of a place where you get your position that other people didn't achieve. It might be when you're going through your challenges at that level that things start to become possible. That it might be that those hard times that you're going through, they might be actually setting you up for better things. They might be setting you up for the ability, and I look at it and I see my podcast, I see my website, I see my YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram. You getting what I'm saying? I'm on every platform, and people say you can't talk for an hour about focus, knowledge, and discipline, but here I am every single day grinding, and it's when those people that say, or they come back, or my almost 300, my 3,000 followers on Facebook. This is for you guys, okay? This is for the community that we're building, and that question that we're asking ourselves every day is, what I'm doing today, is it motivation, is it meditation, is it inspiration? This is for the mother who has to start off on her own and believe in herself, or the husband who has to go out of his way to find himself because the place that he wasn't letting him be who he is. And it's the abandoned people in this world. This is for you guys. This message that I'm talking about, this story that I'm sharing, is for you guys. And I enjoy your support. I enjoy your community. I enjoy being a part of this thing that I'm building, and I'm realizing I'm building something that's bigger than myself. Okay, I'm building a place for us to start to believe in ourselves, to start to believe in our mentalities, to start to believe in our abilities. And I remember being in darkness. I remember doing 6 years of meditation by myself. I remember writing things down and driving customers and being in a place where we got to get down with our focus. And, it's interesting. I was sitting down with somebody yesterday and they had gone through a lot of life challenges. They had gone through a lot of things in their life, and a lot of people didn't treat them well. And I'm sitting there and I'm sitting down with them, and anybody who knows me knows that if they're going to come to sit down with me, that they're going to have homework. And how do we continue with our homework inside of ourselves? The best teacher that you're ever going to have is you. You hearing what I'm saying? Your best teacher is going to be inside of who you are. It's going to be deciding what's positive in your life. It's going to be deciding the people that help you to bring yourself closer to you. And so I'm sitting down yesterday, and I'm working with this guy who's been going through some challenges, and we're just sitting there, and he's getting ready to go after some education, and he's been through a lot, and we're sitting there, and I'm talking to him. I start explaining to him, the skills that you learn in school, the skills that you learn to write things down, to read things, to pick up books and actually sit down and use your mind, or to put yourself in a place where you can study, or like record the things that you want to study, or to put your notepad in front of yourself and to start to write and to start to see these things happen for you, is what it's about. Okay, it's about gaining that ability of self-mastery, that ability of self-mentality, and that ability of being oneself. And so when you start to smile inside, and I have another person that is really dear to my heart, and yesterday they were saying, yeah, I'm really happy today. And it's not when we have difficult days, it's when we realize that more of our days are turning out positive. It's when the things that we're wanting to be attracted to us are coming. And I always said that the most attractive trait or on the planet is focus, and this is the reason why. Because when you start to focus, when you start to get to that point where you believe in yourself, the universe is a great thing. It has the ability to move things out of the way that aren't for you. And if you're focused to that point where positive things start flowing in your direction, people are going to start looking your way. They're going to start saying, wow, that's what separates that person. That's the reason why I like that person. That's the reason why the universe should give or yield to that person. It's not when you're sitting down and you're saying, poor me. It's when you're saying, I'm going to find a way to get up. If I can't find a way, I'm going to make a way. So I sat there in the car. I sat there trying to figure out how to do it. How to hit rock bottom in such a way that I could pick myself up. How could I sit there and how could I go through that? And what I found in that time is that even those times are a joy. Even the places, even the things that we go through in. I'm sitting here creating a community across the world, uplifting people from here to Singapore, to Japan, to Australia. I see the people in Poland, the Netherlands. I see people across the globe, Brazil. I see people in Puerto Rico. I see people across the world that are hearing this message, that are hearing this message from here to Guam and the Philippines. I see you all. I see you connecting. I see these connections building. And one day I will be there. I will be in those places. I will go to Germany, Nigeria, India. These are just in today's, okay? And I'm talking to those people who want to dream big. I'm talking to those people who want to focus to that point, that want to be a part of a community, that want to hear this message that I have to share. And that message that I have to share is, if you wake up every single day, deciding that today I'm going to have positive, that no matter how the challenges I face off against, I'm going to overcome them, that it's worth hearing this message today. It's worth hearing that question that we ask ourselves is, what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? If it's one of the three, if it's not one of the three, I don't want it. And so, let's connect on that level. Let's get that kind of vibration going. Let's get those people that are around to sing that part of who we are. And I believe that you can make things happen around you from being yourself. When you start to use your mentality, when you start to use your gifts, when you start to use your abilities, that you have a magnitude, that you are a mass within this universe, that your being holds weight. And a lot of people look at me and they say, "How can you do that? How can it be possible?" And I remember sitting there and doing meditation, and I see the people and ask yourself a question: Are you able to sit down for an hour straight in lotus without even leaving it? And I look at the people, they call themselves strongs, but where's the mind? Where is the ability inside of ourselves to focus at that level? Where's the ability to sit down and to become that professional in the profession that you pick? See, that's what I'm talking about today, and this is why it's for everybody, this message, because if you're in a profession, if you're in school, if you're in a place where you want to let the things that aren't bringing you towards positivity die, and you want that ability inside of yourself, because what happens when you let yourself be you, the things that move out of the way, they move out of the way or they die. They no longer become a part of who you are. They no longer hold you back. They no longer have an ability to have a threshold over you. And it's not that they're not difficult. It's not that we don't face off against them. It's not that they're there to stop us. They're actually there to help us to grow. They're there to help us to focus to that point where we're stronger than our challenges. And so if we're focusing on that level, if we're getting down with that part of ourselves, if we're truly sitting down and we're truly starting to grind, if we're truly wanting to become who we are on the inside, then we got to use those skills that we did in school. We got to use those abilities to write things down. And I remember sitting inside Chrysler's room on a Friday, and every Friday we had a business meeting, and one thing that we all had in common was we all were required to bring a notepad. We were all required to come to work with a notepad. We were all required to write things down. We were all required to put them in front of ourselves so that we could become professionals. Are you doing that in your profession? Are you utilizing the skills that you learned in school? Are you utilizing the things that you have? Yeah, sure, I didn't graduate. But if you came and you saw my study skills and you saw the way that I take on tasks, the way that I sit down, the way that I utilize what I have, you would say, how did you learn that education? And that's exactly what happened. I was working for Chrysler. I was working with other people. We had closers. We had people that were doing that. And there were people that were coming to me and asking me how to do the credit application. You might have to try things 2 times longer. It might take you 2 times